Welcome. Thank you for joining the USDM Best Practice Series webinar. I'm Becky Melody, your hostess for today's presentation. Kathleen Warner, Vice President of the USDM Project and Program Management Practice, along with James Kelleher, CEO Generis, and Max Kelleher, Business Development Generis, will be presenting. The discussion today will cover introductions, webinar logistics, and our discussion topic, Regulatory Correspondence Management, Eliminate Silos and Increase Productivity. The USDM team is proud to have Kathleen in a leadership role. She's a domain expert, trusted advisor, practitioner, and futurist. She offers 14 years in life sciences, managing large consulting computer system validation and project and program management engagements. Her background includes executive management, PMO, information technology, global professional services, and life sciences. Kathleen directs the USDM Project and Program Management Practice and provides executive oversights for engagements ranging from $500K well into the double-digit millions. USDM is excited about our partnership with the Generis team. I'd like to introduce James Kelleher. He is a specialist in content management for life sciences and has been since 1990. His background prior to joining the Generis team is with GSK and actually founding the Generis team, and he acts as an account manager for many of the key customers for Generis. He's been invited to contribute to the DIA GXP Quality System Reference Model Work Group to develop the reference model for GXP documentation. Max Kelleher heads up the business development team, and he's been with the Generis team over a year now, and he has a history of management and philosophy major at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Kathleen.
Thank you, Becky. I'm going to review the agenda, and then I'll spend a couple of minutes talking a little bit about U.S. data management, and then Max Kelleher will do a presentation on Generis and Cara, and then I'll pick it up and talk a little bit more about professional services for U.S. data management, and then we will go into the demonstration. So with that, the first thing we're going to do is introduce our companies and our partnership. We'll review the product, Cara, talk a little bit about regulatory and management correspondence, and then the demo and a wrap-up. So a little bit about U.S. data management. We are a life sciences company. That's all we do. And everything that falls under life sciences, we do that too. We were founded in 1999. We are headquarters in Santa Barbara, and we have a focus, like I said, exclusively on life sciences, specifically in the IT, quality, regulatory, and compliance areas, providing professional services as well as long-term engagement services to our life science clients. We have several partners, compliance partners. Many of them are the best of breed, including Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, and Generis. We have a proven track record. We have over 300 life science clients that are pleased with the successful project management and implementation. And we have smaller clients, we have mid-tier clients, as well as very large companies alike. A little bit about the solution areas. It really runs the gamut. We provide business intelligence. We have clinical experts. We have sales experts in the area of customer relationship management as well as enterprise content management. We have quality management in the area of enterprise systems as well as enterprise resource management. We do global audits. We have expertise in governance and risk and compliance. We have a tremendous amount of expertise in the IT area and visualization, as well as laboratories, specifically laboratory information management systems, Additionally, learning management systems, life sciences cloud. This is a really important growth area for us. We also do provide services in manufacturing systems and product life cycle management and project and program management. That's my specialty. And trace and track, and then not right now with the new regulation, the unique device identification. We've been doing a significant amount of work in that area, and we do have one of the rock stars, Jay Crowley, who is heading up that practice, and he is one of the co-authors of the actual guidance UDI.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kathleen. We're really excited about our fantastic partnership with USDM, and this is a great opportunity for both of us to really demonstrate the value of that partnership surrounding CARA. So I'm going to kick off with a little bit about Generis. We've been going for, well, since 97, but we've been doing software for 12 years. And that really means for the CARA product, it's very tried and tested at this point. It's very mature and very stable. At the moment, it works on the Documentum, Alfresco, and Oracle Web Center platforms, but we're also developing our own cloud-based platform for small to medium businesses, as well as some CMIS integrated platforms like FileNet. We have a great group of customers as well. We started off in the life science industry. That's really our home industry. And we have implementations there ranging from very small specialized biotech companies right the way through very large implementations of 25,000, maybe 35,000 users at Pfizer and Bayer. But we also have some really interesting use cases in different industries. Like the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Walt Disney Pictures, and Sargento Foods. And that sort of variety gives you an idea of the flexibility of the product. So this is the CARA ecosystem, as we fondly refer to it. The CARA product in the middle is what we'll be focusing on today. And that's available in the cloud and on mobile devices. But we also developed a range of other products to fit in with CARA to add extra functionality. So we have our Doc Secure product and Doc Publishers for watermarking, e-signature, printing, and collating PDFs. We have our PDF rendition tool, our annotation tool, and our DocLink interlinking tool, for example, used between submissions and stuff. We also have some technical tools along the bottom there, our migration tools and our batch porter tool, which allows for large import and export in and out of the CARA product, and the configuration analyzer, which comes bundled as part of the CARA product. We also have a number of different user experiences, and these user experiences are best thought of as a number of different windows into the same room. So it's the same configuration, it's the same preferences, same files, same everything underneath, but different ways of looking at it. We developed this because we realized that different users will need to access the same documents in different ways. So you'll have some users who are very work-heavy within the repository who may be compiling submissions, maybe managing workflows, may just be an admin of the system. And they might want to use the desktop view, which we'll show you shortly. But then you might have someone who wants to come in once a week, do something very small, and then get out really quickly. And they don't want to have to go through the same number of windows. They don't need drag and drop. They don't need a full start menu and a desktop experience. They just want to get in, see a simple screen, and do one or two little things. We also have, going around the spectrum even further, even lighter, a portal, which we'll have a little look at, and the mobile application, which allows users to get things done on the go. This is really unique among document management systems to see this range of different ways to access the same content. From a technical side of things, Cara is a Java application based on the Google Web Toolkit, and it stores the configuration files within the repository, and that's basically all it stores within the repository. So it sits nicely just on top of your repository and easily accesses without changing your backend.
Great, thanks, Max. And now this is James Kelleher. I'm going to tell you a little bit more focused on today's topic of the kinds of things that you might be wanting to do with Cara within the regulatory correspondence arena. And part of what the requirements and the challenges typically are that we've seen on these implementations, and then also some of the things that are unique about Cara that could help to solve that. So the typical requirement around these types of content, and I won't say documents because very often you're talking about a meeting record or a phone, fax, email, that sort of thing. So you have some contact with the agency that you need to document. This will have information about it, for example, the name, date, who you interacted with, and so on. It may also have some attachments, such as a fax you received or an email. In addition to that, you need to tie them into a specific submission or specific product or production issue or things like that. So you need to have a tie-in with things that you have already submitted to the agency, as well as things that you might then submit as a follow-up to these contacts. So you have to have that kind of net on both sides of the contact report itself. Then you have the follow-on from that, which says, well, I've had this interaction with the agency. I now need to make people aware of this throughout the affiliates in the different countries that are affected by this change, that might have to themselves do some local labeling changes or other things like that. And I also need to be able to archive this for the long-term purposes, perhaps in PDF-A format, and tie the whole thing in with my product lifecycle management. So that's typically the picture. It's a relatively complex picture that you need to put in place to deal with this. And many customers that we go to work with are using something like an Excel spreadsheet or a Lotus Notes database today in order to manage this without any real tracking between the different systems. So what we do in Cara is we say Cara can become your place to connect all these together. So not only is it the place where, of course, you will tie in your correspondence and keep your records and attachments and manage all of that, but that can also flow into tying it back to your submission, planning maybe an update submission with some changes, getting into publishing, and doing the whole links through to master data management, any trials that are impacted, and keep that whole picture in place. And we call that the Carla Hub. Without going into huge technical detail here today, we have a very strong and easy integration capability with multiple systems that you build using our configuration tool suite to get that kind of connectivity. So with that, I'll pass back to Kathleen.
Thank you, James. James talked about the application and some of the challenges that it addresses and how it can make life easier for you folks. And now I want to talk a little bit about the professional services and how we can help you with some of these same challenges, but from a little bit different perspective. When we look at some of the regulatory correspondence and management challenges, the storing and the retrieving of records of all the correspondence from the initial contact through the last update is one of the primary tasks that you have to do and track, to be compliant, as well as the submissions and using which systems repositories, as James and both Max have talked to with the Cara product, and the collaboration of the space, and as well as finally the implementation of the system and what it can interface with and what are the different tools that it interfaces with. Well, U.S. Data Management has a very large professional services organization where we have trained experienced subject matter experts in many different areas, and we do have trained consultants in Cara. And we can come and help you in each of the different areas to provide support services. And I wanted to talk about one in particular, is a coaching service where you can secure an engagement with U.S. data management, and then think of it as more like on-demand services, where if you need someone to review one part of the regulation from a coaching perspective, that you can have that person come just in time and then review that work, and then provide the same services over and over again, only as needed. So it's not a full-time, long-term commitment, but it's an as-needed, as-required, just-in-time commitment. So we have that type of service. We also have, validation services. We have implementation services, and we, like I said earlier, we run the full gamut of professional services, and we partner with CARA, and we are a team, and we work together seamlessly, so that it makes your lives, very easy, and it's very productive, and the results are excellent. And so some of the services, to be specific, configuration, implementation, and deployment, validation and implementation. We have validation accelerator packs, and these packs contain templates of documentation so that it makes, when you start a validation effort, you already have all of the documents outlined with the table of contents and with the regulatory requirements, and it increases your productivity and effectiveness and streamlines the whole process of validation. We also provide data migration services across the enterprise, virtualization. We can assist with workflow development and enhancements, computer system validation, regulatory and compliance in the cloud, which is very important to understand about validation, what needs to be validated, what doesn't need to be validated, who does the validation. We can also provide training and collaborate with Generis with their product training, as well as cleanup of regulatory data and legacy decommissioning. And then finally, just some of the areas that I wanted to focus in on, in particular the regulatory compliance services. They're not limited to one service, but we offer many services around ECTD, around new drug application, around e-submissions, around labeling, and master data management and post-market reporting. And then you can see the other categories of services, quality audits and assessment services, validation services, and then professional services to include project and program management. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to James and Max. And I want to just review the delivery team. When I mentioned that we have experts in many different areas, a delivery team can comprise some or all of these different roles, including business and process analysis, operations, practice leader, oversight, quality assurance, executive oversight, regulatory affairs, technical and SOP writing, which is another very important area, and then IT and infrastructure specialists. And now I'll turn it over to James and Max, and they will do a demo on the product.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to share my desktop here. And if you let me just know, Kathleen, if you can see the Cara login screen so I know that it's coming across okay.
Yes, I can.
Excellent, okay. So what does this actually look like, and how might you address the situation of tracking regulatory correspondence and the associated documents? So the Cara configuration that we've put together here is based on a number of projects we've done in this arena. So we've kind of distilled some of the common requirements into this demo system here. It should be noted before we start that Cara itself is a very highly configurable product, and I'll show you some of that a little later on in the demo. So everything you see here, all the settings, the layout of the screens and things like that, can be tweaked according to your individual requirements. So that said, I log in, and I could log in through my iPad or through my browser, supporting any of the browsers. We have a number of different language options, color schemes, and the user experiences that Max talked about earlier, where we'll come back to show you some of the different look and feel that you could give to either more casual users or more heavy-duty users. I'm going to log in for now into the sort of standard medium type of approach and take us through that. Having said that, I will, if I remember the correct password. And okay, so we'll launch the application. So I'll start off with a quick view of the car application itself and show you a little bit of a tour of the geography and what you see around the system. And then we'll drill down into the process of logging a contact with an agency, adding some attachments, notifying people, subscribing to that, and the whole process. So briefly, what I see here on the car screen should be fairly familiar. It's got obviously a toolbar and menu bar at the top with various items. I've got various buttons here. As you'll see, some of these are very specific to the use case we're looking at today, such as product subscriptions or login contact reports. Those might look different for a different use case, but some of them, searching properties and so on, are pretty standard pieces of functionality. On the left-hand side, I have a series of places that I can navigate. One of them is my typical folder structure. We allow you to have different icons if you want to represent things differently, but you'll see that essentially no great secret. You go down a folder and you get some documents at the end. So some pretty standard sort of stuff there, but it's a way of getting to your documents. There are many other ways that we have tucked into the product, and I'll come back to those. But over here in the central section, you'll see that I have a list of columns, metadata, if you like, about the documents. I could change these from a list that's given to me by the system administrator, so I can add some additional columns and see those listed here. I can drag and drop and rearrange them. All of the things that I'm doing are subject, first of all, to a collection of settings that the system administrator provides. And in that case, there's one collection here called default, another one for if I were a system administrator. But you could have a third setting for, let's say, country affiliate, where you might have some different settings and so on. Second thing about them is that everything I'm doing is saved instantly as my user preference. So it remembers that I like this column a little bit wider, and okay, somebody's applied an update. I'll do that later. And as part of this column display, I can also have my sequence of columns and all of that saved instantly as my preference, so that I can log in on another machine and get that. In the central section here, I have different ways of looking at these. If you were using our thumbnail generator, you could go through it in a sort of iTunes cover flow. You have a list view, you have thumbnails view, different ways of experiencing the list of details here. And pretty much every list in Cara you can export out to Excel as well. So if you wanted to get a report or an export of all of the contacts you've had for a particular product or a particular country or whatever it is, then that's very easy to do. So that's the central section. There is an additional pane that you can display, which is called a preview panel. And this preview panel allows you to click on an object and display it inside your browser here. Of course, you can open it externally. I mean, if it's a Word document, you could open it up in Word or whatever. But it's nice to have a preview built in here, and of course, you can zoom in. And for this preview, we support things like our own previewer, which comes bundled with it, Brava, View 1 Pro, a number of different modules that you can have here to easily see a document, and actually also to mark them up with annotations if you wanted. Finally, on okay, this is the first time I'm running this. It asked me that question. Sorry, I will have to do a Control-R. Somebody has kindly updated my demo environment, so just let me do this Control-R here that it's requesting. And okay, so I get down to documents again. Nice little thing you can see here. I actually had to refresh my screen, but it remembered exactly which folder I was in and went back to that same location. So what we have here now on the right-hand side is a list of what we call widgets. So this is information about the document that I happen to have clicked on. There's actually nothing here showing anything of interest, so I could close down a couple maybe and go and open up others that may be more interesting to me, such as a list of the versions, maybe some subset of the properties, and when I click OK, then I have additional information available there in my widgets. And again, I can reorder those by drag and drop, and it's all saved as my preference, and so on. So this widget panel is a great way to see information about the record that you've clicked on, the document or the contact report that you've clicked on. And what's unique is, quite a few applications offer this concept of a widget showing information. It's almost always information that is only in that system itself. But I could click on a contact report here for product 123, and it goes to my master data management system and could display a whole load of information pulled from that external system. I could maybe update it and then save it, and it saves it back to that other system. So instantly, Carla then doesn't just remain your document management system at the heart of the process, but it can interface and provide users a single point of entry to actually interface with other systems, whether that's submission tracking, whether it's registration tracking, your labeling approval, your master data management, your CTMS. Any of those could suddenly have a two-way communication with Carla very easily. And that's either through this widgets panel or through simply adding menus and buttons to the application. And at the end of the demo in the last few minutes, I'll show you some of those setup options in the control panel as to how that looks. So over here, back on the left-hand side, we have a number of different, obviously, options that I mentioned before. We've got your cabinets folders view, where you get down to your documents. We've got a kind of shortcut area called My Desk, and in My Desk, I could have one or more of these things. Again, it's fully configurable by profile, but let's say, as a user, these are my favorites. I could just drag them into my favorites, and it's as simple as that to add them. And then it says, do you want to be notified of any changes as well? And I'll say yes. And then I get emails if those happen to modify. So I've got a very intuitive drag and drop approach to things like favorites and alerts on things that I'm watching. I've also got a link to my recent items, so the last 20 or 40, depending how you configure it, things that I viewed, printed, created, approved, all those types of things will appear in this list. And then, of course, we have some searching and things like that, which we'll come back to on the search topic. So that's the kind of basic layout of Carla. I'm going to just quickly show you a couple of different options. Having said this is the kind of medium view, I'll show you a much lighter view and a heavier view just so you get a feeling of the range of options. So I could log into the same repository and choose this time to log in to what we call our desktop. This is actually not a desktop. As you'll see, I'm still in my Internet Explorer window, but inside that window, I now have this acting basically as if I was on Windows Explorer. So I can resize my window, drag it and drop it. Most importantly, I can open up a second window from my virtual desktop, and again, I could resize that, maybe have them side by side, and I could say, while I'm navigating in this folder in this window to my favorites, I'd like to go to my checked out documents here, and I have the ability to really move between windows. Great if you're dealing with complex sets of documents. You may want to relate things to each other. So for example, I could say, I would like to relate this document to that document, so I can drag and drop from one folder to the other and say that this is an attachment or whatever to that document. So we've got a lot of this kind of intuitive multitasking that you can do. Great for some users, definitely overkill for others, in which case the other users may log into a very much simpler UI, so they could go into the same repository as a My Widget Space profile, and this gives them access to just a direct list of documents that are somehow relevant to them. And apparently somebody didn't even set this up for me, so I'm going to set one up here quickly. That might be just a list of my favorites. And somebody could add these to my favorites, but when I log in, that's all I see. And I get directly there without having to navigate, search, and do various things. And I can just get on and do my things. Or maybe the example Max gave of navigating directly in and coming into my in tray, which is currently empty. But obviously, if I get an email that I've got a workflow, I would just come in, do my task, and get out. So that gives you a feeling of some of the range of different things. We actually have a fourth and a fifth experience, the portal and the mobile app, which go even simpler if you want just a pure search and view experience. But that kind of gives you the feeling. Okay, so I'm going to go back in here now and show you a couple of other things. So I've got my repository. I can log in very nicely, but I don't really know where anything is. I don't want to have to navigate my way to finding documents because I don't really understand the folder structure or whatever. So of course I've got a range of search options, starting from the simple kind of search option where I start to type up here, and it says to me, here are your documents that meet this criteria. So I can click on that, and you'll see then in my search results, I see that document listed. That's not the one. I can start typing again. Carla, by the way, appears in the middle of, beginning of this, but I could do mobile, and then you'll see it's on a wildcard basis because it's picking up in the middle of the name, and I get the document. Again, what's key here is behind this field could be any number of things. So I'm running this as Central Regulatory Affairs. Behind this field, I would like to have product number, submission number, and agency name. If I'm in an affiliate, I don't care about the agency name because for me it's always the same. So I would like that field to be searching on, drug number and label type and something else. So you can make this field contextual based on the different views, which is pretty unique. I can, of course, do a more traditional search. So I could say I'm looking for this kind of document, and there have to be certain attributes, and click too quickly here. Certain attributes such as, the agency has to be one of these values here, so I could multi-select some values. And second criteria where, let's say, the contact type has to be adverse event and something else. And I could then run my search. And the search will obviously allow me to define the criteria and actually get no results, in which case I can go back to my search and tweak it. And you'll see here, again, nice little details. We remember the last search, so you don't have to rerun it. You don't have to rebuild it. You can just simply rerun it. At a certain point, if I had some results that actually were interesting, I could save my search. So let's say correspondence demo, just some description, maybe even share it with my colleagues. And then in future, if I go to my search results node here in my desk, you'll see I have some saved searches, and I can just double click to be able to go back to those and re-execute them. So then we said, well, that's all very well, but those feel like searches, and a lot of users prefer navigating their way to results, even if they don't know the exact location of it. So we've provided a couple of navigation options that are basically searches that built like a tree view. And if I show you what's behind this on dimensions, for example, the system is going to allow me to navigate by top-level agency. Let's add a second level here of dosage form and a third level of status. And then we can now re-expand the tree. And as a user, I know that it's this agency, and I know that it's this dosage form and this status. And I can get down to my documents very quickly by navigating in that tree. Or it seems like dosage form isn't really giving me much joy, so let's perhaps rearrange my tree and say I'd like to start off by status and then by country. And so I could say, show me all the things that are sent out, i.e. approved, by country. And so I can click on that and I see my results. So this dimensions gives me a great way to navigate my way to results as a user. And in common with all features of Cara, you can actually preset those for the user, in which case they can't change them, or you could leave it open, and like I just did, I can choose my own if I know what I'm doing with the system. So here I have a couple of things which are called snap lists, which are also queries, but they're actually more complex queries than you might just get from navigating by attributes. So here I have, show me all the contact reports by safety related. Are they safety related or not? Apparently I don't have any that are, but if I did, I'd have a second node down there. Interesting thing up here is that I can now select, let's choose one which has some values, select some filters, so it's a sort of Amazon shopping style approach to filtering your documents so that you get down to the individual reports that you want to see. And so here again, I could have another snap list built according to country, and when I click on those, I could then filter them according to the contacts that were done on a particular day, week, year, depending what I want to do. So these snap lists are again a way of giving users something very familiar, just a simple tree view, plus some typical, internet search drop-down type things that give them direct access to where their documents are. So suddenly I don't have to care which folders they're in or how to find them. They're all just visible nice and easily. Okay, so I found things. I'm ready to now interact with the system, and perhaps I'm going to actually create a new report of a contact, and I would instinctively click a button that says new contact report, and I would get my form. Now this form could look any way you want it. I mean, the definition of the field is totally up to each customer. The layout presentation, you'll see we've got different fonts, different groupings. We've got the ability to put things in columns and all kinds of different physical layouts. We've also got a lot of time-saving things. So here I have quite a lot of fields to fill in. I have the purpose and the summary, and then I have to go through choosing product information. So I've got a lot of things to fill in. However, I'm working mostly on the same few products, maybe same country. So I'm going to select an existing one that I created, and it's another contact. And this time you'll see it just simply picks up a number of things from that. So obviously the contact is for some different reasons, so those are blank, but all the product information is picked up. All the things like the contact type and so on could also be picked up. Again, freely configurable how you establish these, but it saves a lot of time definitely. So I'm going to put here some information, and as you can see, it's a very important document. We've got all kinds of handling in the form as well that makes it, let's say, far more tailorable or far more dynamic than a form might be in PDF or in Lotus Notes or things like that. So, for example, I've got a whole load of product-specific information here. I could, however, say it's not product-related, in which case I get a different table displayed down here, and instead of a list of products, I have a list of non-product reasons that I made this contact, and I'm able to choose those. Also, for example, setting different security if it's marked as top secret, or maybe even showing or hiding other fields. Here it's top secret, whatever you want to call that sort of setting, and you'll see I can't actually send it out to the wider distribution list, so it won't get sent out to anybody subscribed to this because it's been marked as secret. So there's lots of field dependencies and all kinds of things built into this. And I actually want my product information back, so I'm going to just quickly cancel and go back in so I get it all pre-populated again. Put that there, and James demo. We have different types of fields. We have date fields, radio buttons, multiple pick lists where I could select items from the left, maybe even by drag and drop to move them to the right. All kinds of things like that allow me to populate my data about the contact. And at this point, it is really only metadata, but I might have some attachment that I need to bring in. So they sent me an email or a fax over or whatever else it is I need to do. So I could say, I'd like to add this. And if I just move this from my other screen, I could whiz down here, select several documents from my list, and import those and attach them to the record. So that's quite a unique thing, particularly in a documented environment, to be able to have a metadata record with associated content attached to it. And so if I just click OK to save those attachments, you'll then see that they're listed on my Attachments tab. It's just uploading them in the background now, which gives me a good time to pause for a little sip of water. And then I have here my 3 attachments on this record, and it's kind of ready to go. So one of the typical requirements we had at the tail end of the process is I've got this contact. It says that we may have to change a production method or label definition or something like that. And obviously there are people who need to be notified about it. And I need to track afterwards who has been notified about it. So here, as soon as I save this record, it's going to send it out, and it will notify people, and then I can always come back to the record to see who was notified based on subscriptions and other sort of, dragging to favorites and that kind of thing. So saving this record, it's saving the associated attachments together with it, and then I have that in my system, and you'll see that it actually navigates me down to a place that it's stored it, and here's now my James demo. So interesting thing about what we've also done is at the same time, we've also built the capability of rendering all of that information that I've just entered into PDF. And if I zoom in here in my PDF a little bit more so we can see it, maybe even a bit more than that. So I've got a PDF generated with some, legal language at the top. It's got my name and summary. It's got my 3 attachments, and those 3 are actually hyperlinked from here. So I could just click on them and open up the attachments, which is great if the PDF is, for example, attached to an email or stored in another storage. I can get to the attachments quickly. And you'll see here that I've got all kinds of information populated into tabular form that's picked up from the metadata. So the ability to take a form that is fully sort of dynamic online and everything and render that to a long-term archive capability. Potentially, this is a great place, for example, to use tools such as the AdLib tools for that capability is a very useful one. So having created my contact report and having had the attachments, wouldn't it be nice to see the attachments without necessarily going back into the contact report? And yes, we can do that sort of thing here as a widget, another example. And so the 3 documents that I added are here, and I can right-click on them and view them and whatever else I need to do to them. So the system ties together all these relationships and tries to present it in a way that's very easy for the user to work with. So speaking of that last part of the process where I said it was going to be notified out to people, I'm not sure the notification job has run yet, but let's take a look and see if anybody is notified in here. Okay, just one. All right, not many people subscribe to that one, but let me show you how that's built up. So, for example, I might, as a user, say, I'd like to subscribe to certain things, and that could be based on product or country or a combination of those, or frankly anything that you choose to have as your sort of notification bucket. So if you decide that it's based on not country but agency, and not product but product plus dosage form combination or whatever, that's all just freely configurable. And then I can specify the kind of timing of when to receive these. So I could say, send it to me as soon as anything's created, or send me a daily summary or a weekly summary that gives me, perhaps a combination of 5 or 6 different things that happened in that week. And then you have the option, of course, to choose to be notified about all products or maybe a subset of those products, and again, all countries or subset of those. Based on that, essentially, I get emails generated to me. The user who's maybe managing a group or department or a country affiliate, things like that, can actually do subscriptions for other users. So I could come in here and say, I would like to set the subscriptions for this person, and I would like to have these kind of capabilities, or I could do it in bulk and say that I'd like to set up for everybody who's in the group called, whatever it is, and have them set up with the various different frequencies and countries and so on. So what's actually in those emails? Well, the answer is pretty much anything you want. So we have the ability to add attachments or not. So for example, the PDF that I saw here that's been rendered of this form could be attached to the email itself. I could simply put some metadata extract into the email. And the email itself could be, it's fully HTML configurable, so you can have logos and tables, nice layouts and things like that. We also allow different templates by group or even by language. So I could say, French users who are in corporate regulatory affairs get this email. French users who are in an affiliate get that email. And somebody else in Thailand would get a third email. So we can have all kinds of combinations of notifications going out, which of course is perfect for the compliance aspect, and also because we can track that in the audit trail. We've got a great report as to who was notified of what contacts at which stage. So that was a quick look at the sort of end user functionality. There's a great deal more I could show you, but obviously in the sort of interest of time here on this webinar, that's probably enough for right now. Please do feel free to contact our colleagues at USDM, or to contact us if you'd like a longer demo, or even to have an installation of Cara to try out for yourselves. But maybe just finish off here with a few minutes showing you the configuration behind the scenes, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers. So the configuration of Cara is immense. It's broken up here on our control panel into different areas where you might have things like dictionaries. So you've got a list of categories of contact, for example, adverse events and end of trial notifications, whatever you want. All these all these dictionary lists can be managed by system administrators, or given to, let's say, a power user within regulatory affairs or something like that to update and to make things active and inactive. We have things like taxonomy, so you could say you want to link the country of, let's see where let's just pause a second here, okay, here we are. Country of Algeria with the value of Ministry of Health, whereas Argentina, you've got Ann, Matt, and so on. So you can build up these relationships that you can then specify in, for example, pick lists and things like that. You've got management of life cycles. You've got management of what we call classification. So things like, importing a document, you could specify to import a certain property of the document, such as the first line, into a particular attribute. Or you could say, I'd like to do some inheritance of values, some initialization, so maybe some automatic naming schemes, things like that. You've got a whole set of things based on what we call a category, and a category could be, for example, all contact reports, or it could be empty folders, it could be dosage form objects, things like that. And you could say, for those particular objects, I want to have certain audit configurations, so I could perhaps audit, when things are created or change status or printed or any of those types of typical activities. And also be able to do things like, where do I store this? What security do I apply? Is there legal hold, versioning, and so on. We then also have a lot of things related to the view itself. So the fact that documents here are listed in green versus blue, which might be a status indicator, how many columns you see, which columns you see, all of those are part of our views. So as an example here, I could say for this particular view, the default view, there should be a setting that says, if it's this status, then paint it green. And I could say, and by the way, on the toolbar, I'd like to have these items. And on the right-click menu, I'd like to have these items. So because you can define these different views per group, it does mean that you can also then have different users having a very different experience of the system. And then last but definitely not least is our ability to add integrations with external systems. And here on this, if I just go through and add a new integration, I could say something like display and doesn't really matter if I get a spelling mistake, you can all see through that. Master data management. So here I want to interface with the master data management, and I come through here and define how I'm doing that. So I could do it via a RESTful web service, JavaScript, running perhaps a server method, opening a JSP page. So maybe the third-party application has a great little screen that I just want to embed here in Cara. Easy. So you define how you're doing that. You define any variables, forms, restrictions, like I can only do this on one record at a time where I have this permission and so on. So an entire tool suite for building those third-party integrations, which are really key in correspondence management or contact report management, but also in the wider arena of RIM, regulatory information management, that this fits into. So with that, I will stop talking at this point and see if we have any questions.
Thank you so much, James. Appreciate the information there. And yes, we will open the floor now to questions. While you're doing that, we'd love to just share with you that USDM is happy to support compliance initiatives with our multiple partners and happy to address any questions across the 15 different practice areas that USDM has subject matter experts leading. Excited to share with you that we can support full-on projects from start to finish for compliance, or we can support your teams with staff augmentation as well. Looks like we do have some questions coming in, so we'll jump to that quickly. Let's see, the first one is from John, asking about they have Lotus Notes and they would like to know if they're able to migrate over to Cara.
Yeah, and I'll take that one. So yes, we've actually done that in a couple of instances. So Lotus Notes is coming to end of life, and so we've done an export or several exports for large numbers of records of the metadata. We have an import tool the batch porter that Max mentioned earlier that will actually import all of that metadata and create those as records in the system that I've just shown you now, and also bring in and tie in attachments like emails and so on. So we actually have done that part a couple of times now. We've got a sort of tried and tested approach towards doing that.
Very good, thank you. So maybe Kathleen, you could address this. How long is a typical validation implementation going to take for Cara?
Hi, Becky. I'm going to have to say it depends. But typically, if you're using, if we have a validation pack that I mentioned earlier, and you're using that, it's really streamlined, and it could take probably I'd have to answer that over a period of time. So maybe over a period of like 2 months, you might be looking at a 20% effort over that period of time, because I think James, the implementation of a Cara is probably over a period of up to maybe 6 months?
Yes, and like you say, it depends is really the key there. So if it's requirements that are close to other implementations we've done that we can leverage some of our kind of generic configurations, then obviously that helps accelerate the whole process as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Very good. And then follow-on question, thank you, from the from our attendee here. Does USDM provide validation services for the Cara application?
I guess I can take that, or James can take that, but yes, we do. We have validation consultants right now that are becoming certified on Cara, and we will provide that service for the implementation of a Cara system.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, question from Susan. How can you manage integration with an external master data management system?
Okay, yeah, maybe that's one for me. The master data management systems are typically an external database, perhaps with web services associated that you can call. So using the custom actions that I showed as part of the demo, the typical approach is to build an integration in the back end where you might snapshot some master data management information into your Cara documentation system, and from there you drive some pick lists. But equally important is that this doesn't become static, so you can have live pick lists by web service, or even update of the master data management from Cara should, for example, a new dosage form become applicable, and you add that in Cara, it gets pushed through to the master data management. So you make sure that there may be multiple ways of managing that data, but it is just one single source of the truth, as it were, in that data.
Very good. Next question. Let's see. Okay, this is a great question around the benefits. Do you have any estimate as to what percentage of time will be saved using an application like Cara?
So I think this is probably a two-part question, and I think one that Kathleen can also chip in on. So the first part of the question is around your implementation of the system, and so with a combination of the fact that Cara is so highly configurable, and that USDM, for example, can provide validation accelerator packs and those kinds of things, you can really reduce a project from being 12, 18-month project to being 4, 5, 6-month project. So you save an enormous amount of time and effort in that. The second part is then the ongoing system usage and system maintenance. And so Cara obviously provides something which is very easy to use, and ergonomics, those are harder to track and quantify, but same deal applies to updates. So if you want to update your data list or update your master data management or things like that, you're not having to worry about duplication of data and a 3-month change control cycle to get a change in there. And that whole ongoing kind of flexibility of the system, while still keeping it validated, is obviously going to enhance things over time.
Very good, thank you. Next question is, how difficult would it be to integrate Cara with an LMS system?
Same kind of options as with master data management. So anything that has web services or web API available could be done. We've done integrations with customers with Compliance Wire, Plateau, maybe that's the same one, I don't know. I'm not an LMS expert, but in any case, we've had multiple integrations where you then can tie in from Cara, push things into the LMS, track training, and things like that. So we actually have a partner as well, Impact Systems, who have a great tool which adds a lot of capabilities around the integration with LMS systems, and so that's another thing that we can add to the picture.
Terrific, thank you. Question, can USDM help us through the entire project or only parts of it?
I can talk to that regarding project and program management. We can absolutely assist with starting at the inception of the project right through to the very end, and we can manage the entire implementation as well as training. All of the different phases of the project, we can partner with Cara and manage that.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, we'll take one more question. Can you please speak to the Cara pricing?
I could, although it's all a factor of how many users you have, the types of users and things like that. So perhaps that's a question, that we'll take offline, but essentially I can share with you the pricing model, which is depends on either per user, in which case you have a named user basis, and of course volume discounts for numbers of users, or a per server, and same deal there, number of servers increases, the price per server will decrease. So we have a very kind of wide range of options that we can even do a mixture of both of those in terms of building up a pricing. So we're happy to follow up offline with exact details, but those at least give you the models that are available.
Thank you very much. And we're at the top of the hour, so I think with that, we'll sign off. I want to invite all of the attendees to continue the discussion by forwarding in questions or joining us on the LinkedIn group. There's a discussion forum there, and again, we're happy to address anything offline with you directly. Please offer us your feedback. We'd like to know if we're on the right track. We also welcome your suggestions for future presentation topics. Check out the USDM website. We have over 50 presentations at this point, again, across the 15 different practice areas of start to finish compliance that USDM offers. And with that, I'd like to thank the USDM and Generis teams for presenting, and thank you all for taking the time to join us. We certainly appreciate this opportunity to team with you in working towards excellence in compliance. Have a wonderful day.